Hey friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I have been waiting to do this first look video for so long. Okay, so I got this and it's from Sizzix, designed by Stacey Park, and I have not used it. I actually got this in spite of the fact that I don't really do like a super ton lot of embossing. But I'm just very intrigued by the whole, I just love my crafty gadgets, what can I say? But I resisted getting this because it looked like it was very specifically designed to be used in the Sizzix Big Shot, and I didn't have one until, if you saw my first look video of the Big Shot, you'll know that Sizzix sponsored my creator collective group and they sent me one to play with and do a product review of. And so I have my first look video out and I'll be using my Big Shot for the next few months as my only die cutting machine. I think I can manage it being my only die cutting machine because I don't often need to die cut anything that is larger than the cutting plate, which is 6x9. And as soon as I found out that I would be getting the Big Shot, I went out and I got this, especially since it was like on a slight sale. So so I got it, and there are other adapter plates to it. And I really have to admit, this was definitely a want to have, not a must have, because I have these. And in the back of my mind, the reason why I want to try this out is because I want to compare and contrast it to this, which is the this is like the old school, way back when Tim Holtz had these, and I think I have them all because you were able to get them in packs of 3 like this. I must have taken these out of theirs. But there's like different shapes. So this one's a square aperture you can leave. This is like kind of like a cathedral aperture. And this is rectangular. I've got the heart. And I think a circle and an oval are the last two. This one, yeah, this is the oval. And the circle as well. And the idea of this is that, you know what, I'm just rambling now, but one of the things that this reminds me of is way back when, like when I first started my channel, I had the idea to do something like this. Before I knew about these products, I had the idea of making my own sort of diffuser. I didn't even know it was called that, because I didn't know these products existed, but I made my own by just die cutting like 15, I exaggerate, it must have been like 10 or so, I don't know, but a stack of like A2 panels. I would just die cut, I forget what shape I used. It must have been like a butterfly or it was something, but I die cut a shape out of it and I made my own diffuser, and I was going to do that as a video. I was in the throes of like testing it and making sure that the technique was solid before I did a video of it, and then I found these. I found out this existed. It totally took the wind out of my sails and I never made that video. It was early on. I got very discouraged easily early on when I first started my channel. So if I saw something else out there that I felt like my video would be redundant to, I just didn't do it. But I've come to realize that everybody has a unique look on things, and even if there's like a million other people who have done a product review of this product, their opinion is going to be different than mine, and that's good to have different opinions, so that when you're considering buying a product, you can you don't have to take it on a single individual's word what they think about it, but you have the benefit of getting the opinion of a lot of other people as well. So in my first look videos, if you've never seen one before, I filmed this in real time. I basically just kind of play and discover the product for the first time. I've never opened this before. And the whole idea behind a first look video is to see how usable a product is straight out of the gates. And for me, I find it interesting looking back afterwards, because what I like to do is have a first look video and then try to use that product for a little while, and then maybe develop a stronger opinion of it after I've used it for a period of time. This does look like it has multiple different shapes. So just like the Tim Holtz one, I think I have all of the Tim Holtz ones, which would be 6. I don't know how many in total shapes there are for this diffuser system. But oh look, there's illustrated steps. And the steps look pretty simple, so I might just kind of read and follow along as we go. So with the Big Shot, the new one, Sizzix did send me the starter kit. So it did come with some supplies to craft with. So I am going to grab the 3D embossing folder that came with it, and what I think I'll do is I want to do an apples to apples, so I'm gonna grab the same paper and we're gonna do it one time through the diffuser here, and then another time through Tim Holtz's diffuser. So this is the pearlescent cardstock that came with, and then what else do I still have 2 of, that so that we can have an equal comparison. Do I still have 2 of the gold? No, I used the gold already. Let me see what I've got that they sent in the starter pack. There's plenty of pearlescent. Let's use a did I cut? Yeah, I cut into that one. Trying to find something where I have 2 sheets that are still the same. So we'll use that. Okay. So we'll use some, just your regular textured solid color cardstock by Sizzix, and then the pearlescent specialty card, also by Sizzix. So let's see how this goes. I'm so intrigued by this. So set those aside for the Tim Holtz one. I'm going to use the 3D embossing folder that came with my starter kit. So there's that. So what we want to do is insert paper trimmed to size into an A6 3D embossing folder. So it does seem like this is very, very specifically for 3D embossing folders. I'm a little bit curious. I'm gonna follow the directions, but I am a little bit curious to learn whether or not it's going to work with just a regular embossing folder. I'm assuming it won't, because these are a very specific thickness, and so so my guess is that it does have to very specifically be the 3D version, but we'll see. So I'll go ahead. It doesn't say to actually spritz it. Okay, so I'm not gonna spritz it. Just going to position the paper inside. Okay, slide diffuser base plate, which is part A. So that's part A. Oh, something just popped out. Part A looks like it's the piece that does not have something cut through it. So that's part A. Slide diffuser plate part A above. Oh, into the frame, part C. Oh, it was already in the frame. Well, I took out the little bit of tissue there. Let's go ahead and just slide everything out. So, does this slide? Yeah. There are notches, so it seems like it kind of clicks in place. So you have your base plate, which is the one that's solid, doesn't have the aperture cut out. Then you have your diffuser plate, which is the one with the aperture cut out of it. You've got the diffuser frame, that's this right here. And then you have this, which is your diffuser inset. That's what they're calling everything. So it says slide the diffuser base plate A into diffuser frame, which is this, using track system. Align to center notch. The raised bumps should face outward. Hold frame using finger grips for easy insert and removal. Okay, I think these are the finger grips, possibly. The raised bumps, here are the raised bumps on the side. What did it say about the raised bumps? Should face outward. Outward, okay. I wonder if this is the same top and bottom. Because now that I've moved it around, I don't know if... I'm going to assume it's the same. Okay, so outward, I think would mean that if this is... that it shouldn't be facing the other plate. That it should be facing the underside. So there's that. Place embossing folder into diffuser frame, resting on top of diffuser base plate. Okay, here's our embossing folder. It's got the paper inside, which it shifted a little bit. Now, one interesting thing with the embossing folders from Sizzix, this is they're both halves are not the same width, so not sure if that's going to matter which way we put this in, but I'm going to put it in like that. And then slide the diffuser plate, which is part B, that's this one. Slide the diffuser plate into the diffuser frame using track system. The raised bump should face outward. Note notches along side to aid with placement and alignment in the moving system. Okay, so, oh, it slides in pretty easily. Okay, there we go. And so that's, these notches make it kind of click into place. So that must be pretty, is that centered? I guess that's centered. And then you can keep pushing and put it more towards the center, the 1/3 down. And can we go one more time? I don't know. Let's see. I think I can push, yeah, I can push this up one more notch. Oh, but that's going to be right at the tippy top. So I don't think you would want that. So I think you would want either this, maybe hold the side, or that, I think is what you would want. And I probably want this. So it's hard to sometimes just slide just the top. So I guess you really do want, you kind of need wide hands. If you have small hands, this might be hard to grip because you kind of have to hold the frame if all you want to do is slide the top plate, because as I was sliding, sometimes the bottom plate wanted to slide. Okay, so I think I'm gonna probably want this. The whole idea behind this diffuser plate is that where there's this plastic, it will have enough pressure to actually create the 3D embossed pattern. Where this opening is, it will not create that pattern. So the effect of it is that you can leave this part of your paper that's inside the embossing folder flat. And then if you want, you can stamp a sentiment right inside there. So that's the whole idea behind a diffuser. It's meant so that you can choose certain areas of this folder to actually emboss into your paper and which parts you don't want to emboss. So now let's see what we do with this. Sandwich the entire dimensional diffuser between two cutting pads. Roll through the Big Shot, or alternate die cutting machines. Oh, so it does work in other machines. I didn't know that. Remove the diffuser plate part B by sliding out. Okay, well, let's just do that one thing it said to do. So 2 cutting plates. So I've already cut into this, and then there's so much pressure on the Big Shot. Has a lot of pressure. So even I didn't cut into this. This is the top of the die actually making a little bit of an impression on what was to be my, my clean plate, which is wild to me, but that's awesome, the amount of pressure it has. All right, so how about I bring the machine up on screen here so we can see it going through. So this is the new Sizzix, and it's really pretty. It's sleek and modern looking. I really like it. I'm gonna zoom things out a little bit so you're gonna see a little bit more of my desk than you normally would. I'll try to move some stuff off screen so it's not too much of a distraction. All right, so let's go ahead and get this. Whoops. Slippery because it's all plastic against plastic. All right, so everything is between the 2 cutting plates. So let's roll this through. It really doesn't feel like much is happening, if I'm being honest. This is coming through. It's going through really effortlessly. So now I wonder if anything happened. I assume now I can just take it out of out of the folder, but let's just read. Let's follow the directions. Remove the diffuser plate part B by sliding out. Remove the embossing folder. Remove the embossed paper. Place the embossed paper without the embossing folder back into the frame. Oh, now it says for best results, spritz card with clean water. Oh, that's weird. Slide the diffuser plate. Oh, well, let's do that one by one. All right, so it says to take the diffusing plate off. So remove the diffuser plate. Did that. Remove the embossing folder. Did that. Remove embossed paper from the folder. This isn't. Oh, this is pretty good. But look, it did actually still make an impression where I think it was not supposed to. See that? This is supposed to be that blank spot. But it did emboss. It's lovely. Okay. Now what? I mean, we're not done. So remove the embossed paper. Place embossed paper without the embossing folder back into the frame. Okay, we've done that. This slid a little bit, so... Oh. Well, it's back in here, but there's quite a lot of room here. For best results, spritz card with clean water. Okay, let's just do it. Spritz, spritz. Give it a little... I'm gonna spritz it on the other side too, only because I think it's just gonna help it stick a little bit to the plastic. Okay, I removed the embossed paper. I spritzed it. Slide the diffuser plate part B back, and the grippy dots are on the outside, so slide this back in. Okay. Slide the diffuser plate. Okay, did that. Align embossed paper so diffused emboss is directly below the voided area. Place diffuser insert. Okay. Oh, so, okay. All right. So what you're supposed to do is, let's see, is it like that? So what you're supposed to do is where it's supposed to be flat, you gotta line that back up into the opening, and then you put this in, and this is gonna flatten it all back out, I think is what's gonna happen. Sandwich the entire dimensional diffuser between two cutting pads, and then roll through the big shot. And then you can remove everything. Okay, so let's do that. And hopefully, if this looks crooked, hold on. Yeah, I think. Okay, so the tricky thing I feel when it gets to this step is that it's not, maybe, if I were to do this, maybe I would tape it down so that it doesn't slide. I feel like it's moving on me. Okay, so sandwich between two cutting plates. I wish my plate wasn't so scratched up. So I have two clean plates, because I don't want to scratch up my diffusers. Alright, so this is only really going to have like maximum pressure right here, where that insert is. This is a little bit of a speed bump. Okay, that was a little bit hard to roll through. So what I'm going to do is, because there's so much resistance, I'm gonna give this a little bit of an angle so that it's going through my machine at an angle, and maybe this will be going through at an angle too, so it's going to be less resistance. Oh my gosh, there's going to be a big thunk. You can see my, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get that through. That's weird. Did it say two cutting plates? Yeah, it said two cutting plates. I could see it really starting to bend my cutting plate. You can see the bend too. I'm gonna flip my cutting plate over. Turn it also. Okay, let's try again. Maybe angle it a little bit more. If it's going through an angle, it might help a little bit. Oh, that's so tough. This is a real struggle. Let's just trying to increase the angle as much as possible. All right. Okay, that's much better. That went through. Don't force it, because when you force things, that's when stuff can come flying out of your machine due to pressure, or you might snap or break a plate. Oh my gosh, that was rough. Okay, let's see what that did for us. Well, it did flatten it out. Oh my gosh. So remember how there was a little bit of an emboss, but the thing is that rolling it through again, it flattened everything out. So I kind of feel like, I mean, I can see the emboss still, but I feel like it's overall flatter than what it was before. So, okay. Let's now see. Let's pick one of the Tim Holtz ones. And I might not even need to do this like twice, because I picked out the two cardstocks maybe to try it with different papers, but I don't know that I'll need to do that to really have a good opinion on this, but I do want to use this some more and to see how it goes. Okay, so with the Tim Holtz one, I still have the instructions here. So what you want to do is you want to put your paper, I'm going to use the same paper and the same embossing folder. So you want to put that in, and I didn't spritz the other one, so I'm not going to spritz this one either. And basically what it shows in the instructions is that you want your platform, and it's showing another plate on top of the platform, and then a cutting plate, your embossing folder, and basically the diffuser replaces one of your cutting plates. So the Tim Holtz one came out so long ago. What I'm gonna do is I am going to follow the instructions for how you would normally use a 3D embossing folder, but instead of the top cutting plate, I'm going to use the Tim Holtz diffuser plate. So for a 3D embossing folder, it would be just this platform, your folder with the paper inside, and then a cutting plate on top. So instead of a regular cutting plate on top, I'm going to use this diffuser plate. And the effect of this is that it should just emboss where this diffuser plate is, leaving the center nice and flat. So that's what I'm gonna do as my sandwich. And let's clear everything else off. And maybe I will do this a second time, just kind of curious. Okay, so I'm gonna do, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll do it a second time and I will spritz the paper. See if that makes a difference. Okay, so let's get this through. Let's see if this will go. Oh, this is too thick. It won't go through. So I don't know if this was meant for, I don't know if this was meant for 3D embossing folders, because it did come out a while ago. And if I look at the thickness of the plates, let's see. I mean, it looks like it's about the same thickness. I should measure it. Let's see. Do I still have fresh batteries in here? Yes. Okay. So let's go ahead and measure. I might just need to try to pass it through at an angle. Let me just see this first though. Here's my caliper. Let's zero it out. For reals, let's zero. Okay. So this is 3.1, 3.17, 3. So it's about, I think it's about 3. 3.0 and change. Does seem like one side of it's a little bit thinner than the other, but not by much. So 3 to 3.05-ish. So this is the same. So just under 3. I mean, it's like very, very marginally, but see, here's 3.05. Yeah, so it would seem like it's about the same. So then it's just a matter of, let me just pass it through at a little bit of an angle. It just felt like there was a lot of resistance as I was trying to roll it through. And I don't like to force things through the die cutting machine. So, but we've got that. So what I'm going to do, instead of passing it straight on like this so that it has to hit all of that, thickness at once, I'm going to tilt it like this so that it's just hitting this at an angle. And hopefully that makes it a little bit easier to roll through. Yeah, that does. Okay, that was the trick. So, all right, so now let's see if it embossed the center. This should be flat. That should be embossed. So let's find out what happened. See, this worked pretty good. See, it's not embossed at all. I mean, down here, a smidge, maybe, but I feel like this is very flat. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, as Stacey often says in her videos. And like, okay, so just so that you can see the comparison. See how raised that is? Left side is Tim Holtz. Right side is Stacey's. I think Stacey's diffuser system might have gotten that embossing on the first time, but then we had to pass it through a second time, and I feel like that took some of the oomph away from the embossing. So let's try this one more time with both. And I chose this because it's got the straight lines and it's rectangular. So that was the closest kind of apples to apples I could get to Stacey's, the one that comes with the diffuser here. So I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try it with the pearlescent paper. And I'll give it a spritz, so that we give it a little spritz of water, just like a light spritz, not a ton. And then what that does when you're embossing is it helps to soften the paper fibers so that it can more readily, take on an impression. And I'm just going to give it another go. If you can think of ways where, if you feel like I'm not testing these in an apples to apples fashion, let me know. So interesting to note, when you get to this point and then you start to slide, sometimes it takes the whole thing, it takes the frame with it. So that's why they've given you these grips, but you kind of have to have, I wouldn't say big hands. I don't feel like I have big hands, but if you're a kid or you have small hands, it might be hard to get your hands all the way around to do that, to hold it from the side like that. And then you just need your 2 clear cutting plates, and then you can kind of pass this through. I'm gonna do the same thing, give it a little tilt so that it's going through at an angle. And I can feel that there's not as much pressure because you can tell when something's going through your machine how easy or hard it is to crank it through. If it's super easy to crank through, then there's not a lot of pressure there. Okay, so then let's go ahead and take the diffuser plate off or out. And oh, look at that. Okay, I got it cracked a little bit. It embossed so well. Look at that. So there's a little, you can see that it cracked a little bit, but see how you can still see the design through here? Okay, so I'm not going to do the second step. Let's just do that same step with the Tim Holtz one. So same paper. That's the really lovely pearlescent paper. Just a light misting of water, not a ton of water, just a little bit. And then the diffuser plate on top. Okay, and then run this through. So same sandwich for a 3D embossing folder would be the platform, the folder plus paper, and top cutting plate. And our diffuser is acting as our top cutting plate. And then I'll just set this at an angle and roll it on through. It's curving my diffuser plate a little bit. I should have probably flipped it to the back. Okay, so now look at that. See how the middle really flat, super flat. There's so much thickness and pressure, which is odd because it felt effortless to crank through. The diffuser system, it went through and it didn't feel like there was any resistance at all. But then when you look at the end result, it cracked the paper a little bit. Usually spritzing with water would prevent that. There was enough pressure to actually slightly emboss the area that should have been flat. But strangely enough, there's areas of this that are not as dimensional as what we get with the Tim Holtz. So, I don't know, friends. I am almost inclined. Oh, I think this paper reacted to the water a little bit. There's like, it's kind of mottled. Maybe this was not the best paper to be spritzing with water. But there's the back. Sometimes the back can also be really telling in terms of like how much dimension. And you can kind of see that it's about the same, but I would almost say if I had to pick which one feels like it's a little bit more embossed, like a deeper emboss, I would say this one here, which is the Tim Holtz one. And it has the cleaner opening here as compared to this side. Now this side needs a second step to it. So let's go ahead and do that second step, which requires putting this back in. And I had mentioned maybe trying this. So let me just put a little bit of temporary tape down there and there. And then that way I can slide this in and get that into the right spot. And then you can put the insert back in, and this will, on a second pass, should flatten that out. So I have to say, I don't know how I feel about having to do this in 2 passes. Like, who's got time for that? Oh, hold on. Oh, that's gonna be a thunk. Let me try to tilt it some more. Oh gosh, that feels like a lot of resistance too. Let me tilt my plate over. Let me maybe try that way. It's about as much of an angle as I can introduce, I think. I managed to do this the one time. Let me see. So all I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm trying to have this go through at as much of an angle as possible. Oh, see? Oh. I don't like that part of it either. I mean, it's bending my plate more than die cutting is bending my plate. But it sure does a great job at flattening things out. So it works. That's for sure. It does work. Alright. So that is the final. I mean, I do like how like boom, like it's very well defined once you get that second pass through. But I don't know. If I had to give you my opinion today, I would say that for my crafting and you know, I like to emboss, and I like having the diffusers. Seeing this product reminded me that I had the Tim Holtz ones. So you might actually see me using the Tim Holtz ones more. The thing is that I tend to use the Spellbinders embossing folders a lot. And one of the things that is, if we're just talking pros and cons, just form factor of everything, these are so they're so compact and versatile to use, because you can basically use them on any brand embossing folder and any size embossing folder. So for example, the Spellbinders embossing folders are this size, which is half a sheet of paper, but you can always, you know, line this up like this on top of, you know, if you cut, this is basically, I think A2 essentially is the size of this diffuser plate. So if you're cutting your paper to A2, you can see your paper inside of the folder, because the Spellbinders ones are clear. So here, let me just show you what that might look like. So if I had, oh, actually, let me just do it. I'll just emboss a panel. Here. So there's that. Just some regular Sizzix paper, but using Spellbinders embossing folder. So you can put your paper in like that, and then you can see where the paper is. So you can line up your diffuser plate so that it sort of frames, you know, maybe you want it, you know, you want it to cover your paper in full, but, you know, maybe you don't want it right center. You want it, there's a little bit of room to position it, but if we want it around centered, it would look a little something like that. And then we just need to run this through the machine. And I forgot, I think I figured out it was a different sandwich for the Spellbinders 3D embossing folder as compared to, yeah, this is going through too easy peasy. I think I used this shim, if I remember right, from my first look video. So I've got the die cutting shim, the 3D embossing folder from Spellbinders, which is not as thick as the Sizzix ones. And then we have this. And what I want to do, remember there's a little bit of a speed bump there. So actually what I want to do is tilt this a little bit. Well, I can't tilt it because then the design will look wonky. Ooh, will this work? Now I'm wondering. Okay, let's just try it. I can try to tilt the folder as much as I can. There's not like a ton of an angle I can do there. Oh, this is so thick. Okay, that's not really going through. And without this shim, it's too thin. So I might need more than just a cardstock shim, I feel. Let me do it this way. This is what first look videos are all about. Just trying things out and seeing what works. And especially what works for the stash that I have, because I want to be able to use all these fun toys and whatnot with my other products, because that's what I have. That's the kind of crafter I am. I can't get this to go through with this thickness of of the extra shim. Okay. Oh, I know what I did. I used this. I used my glimmer. This is kind of hacky, friends, but okay, I think that's what I did. Okay, so my sandwich is platform, my glimmer plate from Spellbinders embossing folder, and the Tim Holtz diffuser plate on top. And now let's go. There we go. All right. Okay. Oh, let's see what this happens. I'm gonna have to remember that this is my plate combo here. Oh, so cool. Okay, this got a little bit extra here. And it did crack a little bit. I didn't spritz it with water, but dang, look at that emboss. And it should have where's the part that was voided should have been, I think, right around there. So it did emboss a little bit extra. But with the Tim Holtz, you do still get this. So if you wanted, oh, let's just try it. Why not? So in theory, if I wanted, I could do this and put it through as a second pass, just like the Stacey Park diffuser system suggests with hers, right? To really flatten out that part. So let's see if that goes through. Okay. Not enough pressure here. So I'm going to take this out. Maybe add a little bit of thickness here. And see if that's enough. Nope. Might need a full cutting plate. So let's get, and this is just a little bit of an experiment to see if we can flatten out the part that we want it to be flat. Oh, that's also not enough pressure. Put this in. It's all an experiment to see if, at what point do we get enough pressure to make things happen. That might not have been enough. Yeah, that flattened out a little bit, but not a ton. So I'm gonna try 2 cutting, well, I feel like 2 cutting plates is gonna be way too thick, but let's add just a little bit, little by little. Let's just increase the pressure by just adding some additional shims. Yeah, that's too much now. It won't go through. So maybe that won't work. I feel like 2 cutting plates is probably too much. Let's try. I did this, that, and a cutting plate. Would this go through? Ooh, that's too tight. Don't force things if they're too tight. So if you're experimenting like I am, definitely don't force it. You might, I don't want anybody to like snap a cutting plate or anything. So it might take a little bit of play to figure out, you know, if you want to use the insert with the Tim Holtz one to do that same thing where you flatten it out. And that's I guess one of the benefits to Stacey's system is that it's all designed to work together. So if you do all of the steps, you get really lovely results, but you have to use the Sizzix, I believe, 3D embossing folders. It seems very specific that it has to be a 3D embossing folder, Whereas with the old school, Tim Holtz one, a little bit of a throwback, these you can use really any brand embossing folder that you may have. You just need to probably experiment, though, is the thing, with the actual plate combination. And it might be a little bit harder to do the insert step if you really wanted that really well defined, flat area to stamp onto. So there's some pros and cons to both of these, and I'm happy to have them both and to have kind of rediscovered. I'm surprised I knew exactly where to pull these out, because I haven't used them in years and years. And so it's kind of a nice throwback, and I hope to be using them more, especially since I do want to evaluate the Stacey's diffuser system. There are other designs that she has, so if you're interested in like other shapes and whatnot for her system, I think she has them. And of course the Tim Holtz one has, I don't even know if you can still buy these, but they sold them 3 to a pack, and so you got 3 designs in with a single purchase. And I believe I have, as I showed earlier, I think I have all 6 that were released. So I've got a few different shapes, but they're all like big shapes centered in the middle there, which are perfect for, I think the circle and the square are the easiest, because you can then easily, the ratio for circles and squares is 1-to-1, so it's really easy to find, maybe a die that you can perfectly set inside there and have it framed up really nicely. But it's just a nice way to kind of flatten your embossing a little bit for a different look, and then you can have a more flat surface to then stamp inside if you want to keep things still relatively flat, or you have like that nice surface for collaging on top of, because sometimes it can be hard, especially if you don't use like a 3D glue gel like I do. It can be hard to glue something onto a 3D embossed image or panel because it's so dimensional. And if you're just using a dry adhesive, it's not going to stick quite as well, because you have like the raised portions where it's making good contact, and then you have the portions that dip down. And if you're using a dry adhesive, it's not going to reach those areas. Liquid adhesive might reach some of those areas, but not all. That's why I like using my 3D glue gel, but not everybody can get access to that. So yeah, I mean, I think they both have pros and cons, and I'm going to play with both more, so hopefully I'll be able to show you more of that. And then I don't think I'm gonna get any of the other designs, because at the moment I'm not completely sold on this system, but I will link to it in the description box below. If I had to choose between one at the moment, I think I like this better, just because I do use Spellbinder's embossing folders so much, so the fact that you can use other size folders, other brand folders, that's just a very big plus for me. But I do want to continue exploring this system, and I have plenty of 3D embossing folders from Sizzix to play with, so I will definitely do that. And I'll come back with another video to share my concluding thoughts, especially if I've changed my opinion on it, or maybe you can leave me comments below if you have tips and suggestions for me on how to be a little bit more successful with this. But hopefully I'll, through playing with it more, will be able to discover that for myself as well. So thanks for catching this one, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.